Hi, this is Beatrice Leonard, and welcome back and joining me here for Travelers with Disabilities Having Fun. Dolan, Jenny. I want to thank both of you ladies for being with us today from the Chicago History Museum. When did you start changing that name that I've gotten used to with society?
We reopened our museum in September of 2006 after a $28 million renovation. So we certainly changed a lot of the exhibitions. We changed some of our public space to make it more user-friendly. And with that, we determined Chicago Historical Society, which has been around for 150 years. We also said we want more visitors to know that we have exhibitions here. And a lot of people thought society seemed kind of like a private club or something you had to be a member to belong to. So we certainly wanted people to know we have exhibitions. So we changed our name to Chicago History Museum, which has done well for us this past year.
Before we get into a lot of your exhibitions that you have there at the museum, can you give us a little history about the museum?
Sure. The society was founded in 1856 by a group of Chicago gentlemen, business leaders. And just as other museums benefit from people who collect artwork, these gentlemen had an interest in the history of the city since they were some of the business history makers. That's how they saw themselves. Mm-hmm. And plus, they collected artifacts of American and Chicago history. That was the beginning. And the museum had different locations throughout the city until 1932, when the site was selected in Lincoln Park at Clark Street and North Avenue. And it was around the time of building in the city for the Century of Progress Fair in 1933, and so the building was built specifically for the society, and it's been there at the corner of Clark Street and North Avenue since 1932.
Now, this facelift,
yes,
$28 million.
Yes.
She looks good, doesn't she?
I mean, she looks fantastic.
She better.
She hasn't looked better ever.
Botox, the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We made it a little more accessible, a little more open. When you used to walk in through the front door, if any of your listeners have been to the museum before, you walked in and there was a staircase that took you right up to the second floor. And a lot of people didn't realize there was a first floor full of things and artifacts to experience. We've taken out that staircase. We've rounded kind of everything out. Sightlines. The accessibility is so much more open.
I remember what I really enjoyed, as I was mentioning before the program started. I enjoyed the piano player. I enjoyed the popcorn and the movies because I love cowboys. And when I saw that, I thought of Matt Dillon and Kitty on Gunsmoke. And you would just sit there with them playing the piano and the popcorn and just watching the movies. The cobblestone that you had there in the museum to remind me how Chicago was, hundreds of years ago. And all of these things I found so exciting. You haven't changed it, have you?
Things are always changing. I think our programming has gotten better, more expansive. We're covering a lot more audience interests these days. Some of the programming that we're doing, we are going back to having movies at the museum. We're doing something called Project Sunday, which is going to run one Sunday a month, and it is actually going to show documentaries. Upcoming documentaries, films about issues facing Chicago and issues facing society. So we're going to start those up again.
What about the old movies, what they call silent movies, and the ladies, they're playing at the piano, then dun, 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 and then are you still going to keep those going?
We haven't had them actually for a long time because the audience, believe it or not, began to dwindle a little bit, and so we took programming in another direction. But people have that wave of nostalgia.
Yes.
But wait, here's what happened. As things change, things come back again in a different form. And we knew that Sunday afternoons were a little too quiet for us at the museum.
Okay.
We knew we needed a draw. And when we asked people, what would you like to see? What would you like to do at our museum on a Sunday afternoon, people brought up the old Sunday afternoon movies. So we thought, well, we're also trying to draw a younger audience, a young urban audience. So we thought, well, let's try it out one Sunday a month with this, see how it goes, and then with programming, you let it grow from there.
I want to ask you, with the Chicago History Museum, How is it accessible for people with disabilities? Someone who's blind or visually impaired, someone who's a wheelchair user, or someone who may be a little person, or someone who's hearing impaired? What's going on there?
When we did the renovation, it presented an opportunity for us in the design of our exhibits and our public spaces to be accommodating and accessible. All of our public spaces were measured out and designed with that in mind, and then the exhibitions as well. But that's actually very much the current trend in exhibition design now. When you design your casework, when you do your displays, you want to make it so that, the range of people can see what's on display, see what's in the case, visualize, hear, all those things. So we, put as much into it as we could. One of the things we were really happy to be able to do was do you remember the dioramas of Chicago history when you visited the museum before? It was in a sort of a long tunnel gallery, dark, and they were backlit miniature scenes of Chicago history.
Yes.
Well, we moved them downstairs. We deinstalled them, moved them downstairs, and it was this great opportunity to put them lower, to install them lower, so that indeed school children, toddlers, folks who maybe are in a wheelchair, whatever, they can see the whole thing. And we cleaned them all, relit them, redid the labels, and it's definitely more accessible and very beloved artifacts too, those dioramas. So that was a whole design concept that we were able to see through.
Also, in our Crossroads, which is our large Chicago history gallery, we have a lot of videos, screens with audio to kind of help guide the visitor to know what they're looking at, whether they can see or not, but get a better understanding of what they're looking at or what's in front of them.
And the activity stations that we have about bridges over the Chicago River, the architecture cart that I talked about, the Great Chicago Fire, all of these incorporate tactile. The visitors are touching objects from the fire, moving game pieces across the map of the fire.
That's good.
Building bridges. So there's, again, as much of a tactile experience as we can give to, and then facilitated by a volunteer or a staff member who is telling the visitor, what it is that they're seeing or touching or moving around the surface of the cart.
Now, does a person have to call ahead that's maybe blind or visually impaired or has special needs to come to the museum?
It can go a couple of different ways, and it depends on what the visitor is accustomed to or might request for a visit. We have visitors who come in every day that have not called in advance and just want to come and explore the museum the way they've decided they explore museums all over the city. Sometimes we get a call in advance, and they'll ask us, I'm visually impaired, I'm hearing impaired, do you have someone, or may I have a guide? Is there someone who can greet me and help me get oriented to the museum? And that's absolutely, we're very pleased to do that.
Okay, now let's discuss a couple of things before our time is over with. If you want to be a volunteer at the museum, if you want to be a donor at the museum, what is it a person should do?
Call us. The phone number, 312-642-4600. And we take all kinds of inquiries all the time from folks who want exactly that. They're curious about the museum. They want to know what about volunteering. We have a volunteer and intern coordinator. We get requests from students all the time about doing an internship. We have a full volunteer program with a range of opportunities, from being a gallery interpreter, dealing with the public, giving guided tours, staffing the activity stations. Sometimes folks want to work behind the scenes and work on a project, helping to develop an exhibition, helping to catalog a collection. So there are, at different times, there are different opportunities for volunteering, and we are always open to that. Donations, you betcha. We'll put you right through to the person you need to talk to. But membership, too. It's a wonderful membership, and we'd be happy to take those calls.
So much going on at that museum.
Always keep in mind, every Monday it's free admission for all.
Okay.
We encourage visitors to take advantage of that.
Well, I want to thank both of you ladies for being with us. And we're going to visit there, and we're going to do a shooting there for Travelers with Disabilities Having Fun. And this is B. Leonard signing out for right now. Have a pleasant day.